What up, what up, what up, guys? It's Monday. It is 8:30. Well, it's like 8:36, but that's all right. And it is Conversations with Teresa. What's up? Thank you guys so much for joining in, tapping on, logging on, whatever you did to get here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for always showing up. I get a chance to have my good friend, one of my BFFs. Do people still say that? BFFs? One of my best friends, Christine Narsjo. And she's going to be talking about putting the human back in human resources. So, yay, Christine! Whoa! That's all the
Thank
cheering and
you.
everything. If you didn't catch on to that, that was my background in cheering. How are you doing today?
Absolutely. I am doing great. I am very, very, very excited to be on here today and reaching out to you from sunny California.
Sunny
Sunny
California. Okay, rub
California.
it in, rub it in, rub it in. Go ahead. So that is awesome. Thanks again. Like I said, thank you for coming on. One of the things I wanted to have you come on because you are my go-to human resources person. You know, human resources is one of those things that if you're working in any industry, you got a human resources person. It might be one, it might be five, it might be 20, but you got someone in human resources that sought you out, brought you on, onboarded you. Hopefully, they did a great job onboarding you. Um, Gave you your offer letter, sets up your compensation. They do a whole bunch of different things. But then sometimes what happens with human resources is that once that happens, we don't hear anything else. We don't know what's happening. So it's like, what's up? What's human resources doing? Right. So I don't know. Human resources might get a bad rep. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but I know that in working in human resources myself, one of the things that I've experienced, I felt like when I came in the room, people were like, oh, human resources is here. As if like we literally had this human resources like thing on our back and was like, we're human resources. Like, I don't know. But anyway, I'm talking a lot. I wanted to to explain this a little bit. You've had extensive work in human resources, many, many years of
Yeah.
everything. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you done? You can bring us the last 5 years, different things that you've uh, come about,
Sure.
seen, and just what does human resources mean to you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I have been working in human resources for, about 25 years now. And yeah, human resources is one of those things that either you get in it and you love it and you're never going to leave, or you get in it and you don't like it. And it's like, this is not for me. I can't take this any day
Not
to
me.
day. But for those of us who are long timers, we eat, breathe, and sleep human resources sometimes. We sometimes
Yep.
without even thinking about it. Um, and so 25 years, I've hit a lot of different industries. So I have worked in banking, I've worked in early education, I've worked in higher ed, I've worked in nonprofits, I've worked corporate, I've worked energy companies, startups. Did a stint at Harvard University for a bit
Oh
as
yeah,
well,
that's right. That's right.
for quite a few years. And so all of that has really allowed me to um, touch a lot of different aspects of human resources. And that's something that a lot of people don't realize, is that
Mm.
it's not one size fits all. So there are, like you mentioned in your introduction, there's onboarding, there is employee relations, there's payroll, there's all these different components that make up human resources that sometimes it's not, maybe the spot you are isn't quite where your best fit is, but maybe there's another area within human resources that might be a great fit for you.
True.
Um, I'm more of a generalist, so I've worked almost, yep, I've worked every area of human
Yes.
resources so far. And I think for me, what human resources means to me, um, or I guess I'll tweak that question a little bit. What I enjoy about human resources
Okay.
is the people. It's the people. Um, I love working with people. I love helping people, helping them figure out questions, helping them, having someone come in like, I don't know what to do in this situation,
Hmm.
and being able to talk them through it, help them, coach to them, walk them through a situation, bringing people in. And I think that is, a big part of why I wanted to come on today, right? To talk about
Nice.
putting the human back in human resources,
I
because
love it.
it's a resource of humans, right? And so they need the support. And sometimes people don't realize that, and so
No, no.
that is my that is what brings me back every day, every day.
That's cute. I love it. I love it. It is the resource for humans. And
Yes.
again, like as your individual contributor, right? As your average Joe working, let's say at, at a Harvard, at a you bring in women's at an institution. I was trying to think of something that was on the West Coast, but I don't know anything out there. Whatever the institution is.
Lots of schools.
Right? Once I'm hired, you've
Yeah.
hired me, I'm on payroll, I got my benefits going.
Yeah.
What else could I be looking forward
Yeah.
to human resources?
Yeah.
Besides, like, oh, shoot, I'm in trouble, right? Because that's
Right.
sometimes what people think, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what else can human resources? What are the resources that human resources offers?
So, human resources, it doesn't end with onboarding. It really is full cycle. And you'll hear sometimes people may talk about, like, full cycle recruiting. So, full cycle recruiting involves, getting the person, sourcing them, interviewing, they're hired. They start, 3 months in, 6 months in, a year in, all the way to, they've decided to move on, there's a separation between the two, and then offboarding on the other end. So that's
Mhm.
considered full cycle. And
Okay.
there's different aspects within that that's touching all the different parts of HR. And so
Okay.
that's where, it's really important to know, in each aspect, when do I go to HR? What do I go to HR for this? Do I try to figure this out
Right.
on my own? Benefits, things along those lines. Where HR is supposed to function as a resource for people. Our primary objective is not terminating people,
Oh,
right?
good.
So like you
Oh,
said,
good.
some people think like, oh my gosh, HR is coming in, and there's been the history of HR has kind of migrated, gone up and down a little bit. And
Mm-hmm.
so, probably if you look at about maybe 10 years ago or so, right, it became very transactional, very, you know,
Mm.
uh, you call HR in when you need to lay people off, when you need to do X,
Right.
Y, Z, all of that stuff. And so everybody started kind of fearing that HR is coming. If you hear HR is coming to visit, or HR is coming to the office today, like, ooh, I wonder who's gonna get, whatever. And so it's never right. It's not what it's meant to be. That's not the way
No.
HR is meant to be. And it's not the way that I do HR. So
Awesome.
my position right now is, and I realize I never really quite introduced what I do.
That's
So,
true.
I am a human resources business partner.
Okay.
And what I do as a business partner is, it's really kind of working with the leadership, working with, maybe not as much direct with the employees, but making sure that everyone kind of has what they need, that the company is being strategic in how they plan and how they work and how they expand or how they contract, or anything along those lines. And so, in working with I try to keep my little fingers in with the people, because I don't want to get too far removed from that. um
Hmm.
but I really feel like that is something that is very important, and that got lost in translation, right?
Hmm.
And so
Okay.
where you hear now is a lot of where people are starting to come back to that. They've seen the impact of everyone fearing HR. Nobody wants to talk, nobody wants to say anything.
Hmm. Hmm.
Folks are accepting behavior and treatment from, whether it's managers or peers, that they really should go to HR about, and they're not doing it because they fear, repercussions and things along those lines.
Mm,
So we're starting to see a swing in human resources back. You hear a lot of times, a lot of titles now are like people development, or people. They're putting that people part back into the title of a human resources person, right?
okay.
And
Hmm.
then is kind of just to get the focus back on the fact that you're dealing with people. It's not just
Right,
about transactions, not just
right.
about, they're not just numbers on a sheet, right? Um,
Exactly.
I tend to approach HR a certain way.
Okay.
And for me, um, just kind of swinging back to like the full cycle, I want when you come on, you to be excited. And if you're leaving, I'm going to try to make it as easy for you as possible, right? I'm
Okay.
not going to try to make it hard. I want when you leave, if it's a difference of opinion, if it's a difference of whatever it is, um, I'm going to try to make that your person, right? So I'm going to try to make that as easy and as simple for you as possible. Sometimes
Right,
it's nobody likes to be told they're losing their job, but I try to provide resources, and I try to provide
right.
direction and feedback,
Okay.
to that individual. So it really is kind of walking folks through like the entire cycle.
Right, right. No, I get you. And it is super important. I realize that is as well as an onboarding can be. If your offboarding is poor, if that's the
Mhm.
last impression that you have left on someone,
Yes. Yes.
that's not good. It can overshadow all the good stuff. And so that's important. It's that in between stuff that's really
Right.
important that we don't always take advantage of. So when I think about human resources and when I've been in human resources, some of my favorite parts were like if we were working with the training department and we were trying to help you, you're thinking about, I want another career, right?
Hmm.
I've been doing this for this long, but I may want to go into management. I may not want to go into management, but I want to do something different. And so how
Hmm.
does human resources come into play when I like the company? I really want to be a part of the company, but maybe I've grown out of my job. What are some of the things that HR could provide?
I think one of the main things that for anyone in that situation to um, be comfortable with, and it is on HR's part to make sure that that atmosphere is there, so that a
Hmm.
person doesn't feel like if I come forward and say, um, I really want to advance, I like my job, I want to grow, I want to learn, I want things along those lines, that they're able to do that without feeling like, is my job in jeopardy? You know,
Right.
Sometimes people stay where they are when they're not happy, um, and it's to the detriment of the company, right? They end up kind of losing out like that.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
so it's important, I think, to make it unwelcoming for any HR department. They can come and they can talk, they can get some direction. Um, Part of HR is and should always be workforce development, and so
Right.
really helping people in most of the positions that I have. One of the first things that I do is I meet with each employee, if possible, depending on size,
Yeah.
or if not, coach the
Mhm.
managers to do it, but really to sit down and ask, um, what what do you want? What do you see your HR as being? What is your ideal? What do
Mhm.
you need from me? You know, um,
Right,
and
right.
a lot of times folks are, well, I want to go back to school. I don't want to go back to school. I'm thinking of developing not sure what to do.
Yep.
All those things along those lines are areas that HR should be able to assist this person with, getting
Mm-hmm.
some direction as far as where exactly they want to go. Um,
Right.
and finding what those resources are, explaining, what's available, and for HR to, if they are seeing a certain amount of interest in a particular thing, it's up to HR to go back to the leadership and say, hey,
Mm.
I have a bunch of employees that have asked for this. Is it possible for us to implement that? Is
Right.
it possible for, us to do, some, learnings, right,
Mm-hmm.
for the employees? Um, is it like team building, right? Is it, if so, a lot of folks are saying, well, I just don't feel connected to my team, right? It is up
Right.
to HR to be able to go back to the managers and say, hey, I need you to work on building your team. And that's where it's hard sometimes for employees to feel comfortable to approach their managers and say,
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm not feeling great about this.
Well, absolutely. I mean, and again, as employee, like just regular employee, how would I even know that? How would I know that I can go to HR with this? Because I don't want to tell my boss, hey,
Mhm.
you need to straighten up and fly right. But how do
Right.
I come to human resources? But before I do that, I just wanted to mention a comment. Elisa says, Christine Narsjo, um, very, oh, such wise, thoughtful, and caring perspective on human resources. Yay for you.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
and she also mentioned about how offboarding is equally as important as onboarding. So thank you so much, Elisa. We definitely see you, we hear you. Um, so yes, again, so how would that person know that stuff? Like, so I know, like when I was onboarding folks, it was one of the things, like, okay, here I am here for you. So good, bad, we talked about workforce development, we talked about training, we talked about all of these things, but I don't cover every single thing, right?
Mhm.
I try, but you only have so so much time for
Right.
onboarding. And
Yeah.
so I don't know. This is a fly, just a fly question. How are some ways that on a just kind of on a rolling basis,
Mhm.
that we can reintroduce different things, just to say, hey, don't forget, human
Mhm.
resources is here. Here's what we can do
Yeah.
for you. I
Yeah.
don't know if you've been a part of an
Mhm.
organization that promotes things like that, that
Mhm.
promotes, here's what human resources is doing. Here's what,
Mhm.
we can do for you. Here are your rights.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's
Yeah.
been, I haven't necessarily
Yeah.
been. It's usually just
Abs-
done onboarding. I just wondered if you had any
right.
experience
Right.
with that.
So I'll use my current job. So I just recently relocated to California at the
Yes,
end
you
of
left
last
me.
year.
Thank you for leaving
Um,
me.
I'm sorry.
Fine, fine.
But one of the things that we're doing is we are doing monthly meetings. So we're doing monthly meetings with all of the staff all together,
Okay.
where I can present things to them. They can ask questions of me if I have a new policy or something that's being introduced. We do kind of a bit
Mm-hmm.
of an open forum, so folks can
Excellent.
ask questions and they can get responses back. We have an HR newsletter that we do as well. So we put
Nice.
out an HR newsletter every month, so little reminders about things it's like that. It's going out to everyone. But I think the
Mm-hmm.
main thing is really, um, again, so much emphasis on the HR person, creating an environment where a person feels like they can come and ask the questions.
Yes.
Um, Now, I will say, just kind of piggybacking a little bit on the comment that you made about the managers, I will tell you that one of the first things I ask someone when they come in and they're like, my manager, my manager, my manager, did you tell your manager about it?
Nope.
And a lot of times it's like, well, no. It's like, well, how will they know that this is something that is working or not working if you don't give them constructive feedback. That is not to say rant and rave at your manager, but really for employees, the first step should really be their manager or supervisor. If for
Right.
some reason their supervisor either is the issue or is not listening, you go to their manager, right?
Right.
If that's not working, then you can come to HR. And
Hmm.
so I know for some people they wonder, when do I go to HR with this situation?
Right. That's a great question.
Um, and so it's fine to come and ask advice. I've had people come to me. I've done it myself as an HR person, where I've gone to my supervisor or my supervisor to say, "Hey, I want to address this, but I'm not really sure it will be received well, or I'm not
Yep.
really sure how best to communicate this. This is what I'm feeling."
Exactly.
Right?
Right.
And HR should function as that sounding board to be able to say, well, here is, instead of telling them, you stink, here's a better way to tell your manager, how you feel about something.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and you said, as far as like knowing what, it's totally fine to ask the questions.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
we don't just, as HR, we don't take action on every question, on everything that we have. So it doesn't mean that if you come in and you say, this situation is going on with my manager, I want to talk to them about it. As HR, we're not going to jump in and go, well, okay, I'm going to go tell your manager X, Y, and Z. I'm going to
Right.
coach you on how to address that yourself, so that the
Right.
next time it comes up or in another situation with someone else, you have the skills yourself to be able to start those conversations and to start that dialogue. And one thing that people don't realize is that some folks are like, I'm going to go talk to HR and it's going to be a confidential conversation. Um, I will tell folks now, okay? Anybody out there? There is no such thing as 100% confidential in HR. As HR
Sorry,
professionals,
folks.
sorry about that one. Um, as HR professionals, um, we have guidelines, and we have certain restrictions on what we can
Absolutely.
and cannot or should or should not report out on. Right?
Right.
It's something like, you know. Well, my manager is, harassing me or something like that. We
Right.
have to document those things, right?
Or you saw
We
someone else being harassed.
Oh, exactly. Those are not things that you can say, well, okay, this person asked me not to say anything.
Right.
So just be wise in what you go to HR for. We definitely want to have an open door and
Right.
have folks feel like they can come and ask questions, but
Hmm.
understand that asking us to keep something confidential when it is something that is a breach of a law or a policy or a person's safety, um, very much like mandated reporters,
Right.
we are
Right.
required to report certain
Yeah.
things for everyone's safety.
So
Um,
let me ask you something on that, just for clarification. So someone comes up and says, "Hey, I saw Joe harassing John on
mhm,
something," right? And I'm
mhm,
Teresa. I'm still Teresa.
mhm,
Um, and I come to you, HR. This is what I
mhm,
saw, and we
mhm,
talked about, okay, not everything is confidential. Does that mean you're going to go back to Joe and said Teresa said,
mhm,
or are you going
mhm.
to say this is what
I'm going to
has
say,
been done?
Teresa, here is what you need to go back to Joe and encourage Joe to come forward themselves. Because again, you may have interpreted their interaction a certain
Mm-hmm.
way.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a situation where a person thought someone was harassing someone else. Turns out they were related and they were just joking around. This person was like, the things that they said, and they read the whole situation a certain way. And like I said, but my first thing is always go back, have that conversation with the person.
Mhm.
See how they're feeling. Are they not feeling comfortable to come to HR themselves? Um, I'm happy to come and meet them. I'm happy to talk with them. I'm happy to kind of pull them aside, have a conversation, encourage them to do that. Because at that point, it's nothing that's substantiated, right? It's not like you're saying, oh, this person is harassing me. And so
Right,
therefore I
right,
am coming to HR.
right,
Now, that being said, um, within HR, we may keep a record of that. And so what will happen is now if John comes and he says, I saw Joe doing, seemed like they were harassing. And then Sally comes and Sally says, yesterday I saw Joe doing whatever,
right. Exactly.
then, we have a little bit more grounds to say, hey, we're going to have to talk to Joe,
Right.
right? And we're gonna have to say, Joe,
Poor
we've
Joe.
had a few folks come forward. The way that you're communicating,
Mm-hmm.
your requests, it's coming across as bullying.
Right.
Are you
Right.
aware of
Whatever it
that? Has
is.
anyone said anything to you about that? Here are
Mm-hmm.
some coaching guidelines that we can give you for how to better communicate with your team. So it doesn't
Right.
necessarily mean Joe's getting fired, right?
Mm.
But we're giving
You
Joe
sure?
some,
Because Joe, he be slacking. Oh
he's been doing
no.
all kinds of stuff, right? But really giving him some help, some direction, um, help him figure out how he can grow as a
Right.
manager. You know, if we have a conversation like that, and then the employee comes back and they're like, "Well, Joe just went and blew up at his team." Okay, that's the point HR is going to get involved now,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
we try to make it so that not everything is this heavy-handed HR is coming down on you,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
always to have that open dialogue so that if someone has a question, they can ask that question.
Absolutely.
If someone comes in and they said, this person, they pushed me, they put their hand on me, anything along those lines, that is not confidential. Okay.
There. No. No.
Right. If someone were to come forward and say, this person did X, Y, and Z, but I don't want to do anything about it right now. I just wanted to let you know that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. If this person is making any environment seem as a hostile work environment, there are laws that protect employees and that. And as HR professionals, we have to act on that.
Absolutely. Okay. So, Christine, we only got about a minute and a half left. Are there things that HR provides, has access to resources that you've noticed that people do not take full advantage of?
I would say definitely learning opportunities.
Okay.
Sometimes we don't know if someone is looking for growth unless you tell us that you're looking for growth.
Yep.
And so most companies have some type of training budget. And so
Okay.
that's usually helpful for us to know, or even just to identify if there's a skill that's missing that folks need to, are interested in. So I think
Right.
that's the biggest thing is just, be open, ask the questions. It's not going to come across as, well, you don't want your job anymore.
Right. Right.
We expect people, you should not be at the same level that you are at year one. You shouldn't still be there at year 3 and year 5, right?
Hmm.
We expect and
If
we
you don't
want,
want to be.
if you don't want to be, if you don't
Right.
want to be. But even
Right.
within that, you would take on, even if it's the same job title, your skills and knowledge has grown.
Right.
So if we bring someone else in, then you're able to kind of help mentor in that way as well. So I think
Right.
that's kind of the biggest thing that I would say to be able to leave on is really use your human resources. It is okay
Hmm.
to ask questions. That is what we are there for. If we can
Yep.
help you, we will. If we can't help you, we will direct you to somewhere that you can get the help.
All right. One thing that I would add that I've noticed that people hadn't really taken advantage of in the various organizations that I've been a part of was the EAP program, the Employee
Hmm.
Assistance Program. And
Yes.
so you may have it's likely that you got information on it on day one, along with sign up for this health insurance, dental insurance. This is how you're going to get paid. This is your, transportation pass. This is, your manager, and this is your desk, and all this stuff. And it may have gotten lost in the sauce. So,
Yes.
oh my
Employee
gosh, employee
assistance program.
assistance program. It
Yes.
has come a long way. It used to be like, if you're in trouble, if you need legal advice, if you need, you know,
Hmm.
you have this terminal illness, you can come to EAP, or use the EAP services. But now it's really grown into a point where, hey, do you want, coaching in this area? Do you want some
Yeah.
financial advice? Do you want some,
Right. Yeah.
happiness training? Do you need help
Yeah.
finding daycare? Like,
Right.
there's so much that your
Absolutely.
your EAP program
Yeah.
provides, that's through human resources. Human resources kind of went through and found this thing that's going to be helpful. It is a human resource, and it's
Yes.
really there, for you to be able to take it off your shoulders so
Hmm.
that you can come to work with your full self.
Absolutely.
It's really hard if, little baby Susie is, crying and she doesn't like her daycare or school and things like that,
Right.
and you got to come to work. We want you to be happy at work, and we want you to be happy leaving. We know you're leaving your home. We know that you're leaving your circumstances. We want that to be as, simple
Yeah.
or seamless as possible. And so the EAP program, again, has been something that, I
Yeah.
found to be underutilized in most
Yes.
places that I've been at.
And
So
some people don't even know they have one.
don't even
Um,
know they have
they
it.
don't even know they have one.
You
And
likely have an EAP program, just so
you
you
most,
know.
yes, you
It may
most
not be,
likely do.
it may be amazing, it may not be so amazing, but I forget how many employees you need to have, or there, I think there's some minimum. I don't know, maybe I'm making that up. But the likelihood of you not having an EAP program is not good. But one thing what I would say is that when I had to sell my parents' house,
Hmm.
guess who I called? I called
Yes.
EAP because I needed some help with, how do I find a lawyer? How do I find a real
Yeah.
estate? How do I do this? So they
Absolutely.
can help with
Yeah.
a ton of different things that helps me to, again, be able to show up at work with my full self, my full attention, being
Yep.
on there. So
Yeah.
anyway,
I
I'll get
mean,
off of your
and if
soapbox.
there is something that you need, if you have an EAP, if you've checked with your EAP, it's like, oh, they don't offer that. Again, these are the situations where you go to your HR and you say, hey,
Absolutely.
this would be a have in our EAP. And if we have enough people ask for it, we'll add it in.
Right.
Our job is to make sure that, as Teresa said, is that you're there, you're present, you're not, your brain isn't still at home.
Hmm.
And so that you can really be able to give 100% or 60% or however much you have to give, whatever you have, we'll take it. Um,
Some
and
days are
be able,
better than
it's a
others,
lot
right?
when you are a working parent with
Oh
taking
boy.
care of your parents and your children and you work full time and
Yeah,
everything, it's not
that's
easy
real
to give
stuff.
100% at work. And we don't expect you to give
Exactly.
100% at work. Give us the best that you can and let us help you with anything outside of that as much as we can.
And that's how you put the human back in human resources. Wow, you like how I did
Abs-
that?
yes.
See, I was paying attention. Christine, thank you so much for being on there. If you guys have any questions about what your human resources uh, department, organization, division, I don't know whatever you call it, but your human resources person can do, just go and ask. And then if there's something that you need, ask them. The worst that they can say is no. But what if they say yes? What if they
Yeah.
say, yes, we can do this? Yes, we can help you do this. Oh, you don't want to be here anymore? Not necessarily here in the organization, but that could be it too. I want to do something else. They could help you to find a coach to say, let's help you walk through that. So your human resources person may not be the person that walks you through. They may, but
Yeah.
they can direct you, give you the resources to get you where you need to be. All right. We want you to be happy at your place of work. And sometimes being happy is leaving. We hope as employers that it's not. We hope that you stay. So we're going to do everything that we can to help you to stay. So at any rate, on that note, I thank you so much for your time, your wisdom. As Elisa said, you're such wise and thoughtful and caring perspective about human resources. Utilize them, milk human resources for everything that they're
Absolutely.
worth.
Absolutely.
Everything.
That's what we're here for.
All right. Well, listen, you have a great night. I will absolutely
Thank
throw
you.
in coaching. Super, super important. If you've ever thought about coaching, if you have any questions about coaching, um, personal development coaching, life coaching, things of that nature, I'm your girl. Come and talk to me, set up a discovery call with me, and just learn about what it is that my services can provide for you. Very similar to what human resources does. I'm able to do a little bit more. I have the time because that is my focus. How about that? At any rate, Christine, have an amazing night. My
Absolutely. Thank you
peoples,
for having me.
have an amazing night or day whenever you're listening. And throw me some love. All right. Have a great one.
Thank
We'll see
you.
you next Monday at 8:30 on Conversations with Teresa.
Thanks.